We entrepreneurs, we want to be successful. We want to be our own boss, chart our own course. The brutal reality of most small business owners' lives, they feel like a slave to the business. Very little family time. Business consumes their mind 24/7. Major stress, no real freedom. And on top of it, they not only don't make money, they are broke and in debt. It comes down to belief. If we don't believe that the juice is worth the squeeze, we're not going to squeeze. Get your vision that inspires you. If it doesn't wow you, it won't move you. So get that vision, get a coach so that you can not just see the vision, but believe the vision. The number one reason that small businesses don't grow or do as well as they could is because of what I call FTI, failure to implement. You know what to do, you know how to do it, you just don't do it. I had a guy yesterday, he's in one of my classes about coaching. He's just like, I'm just too comfortable.
Welkom bij de Storybrand Podcast, waar wij geloven, if you confuse, you lose. Ruis in je communicatie is je grootste vijand. En het creëren van een duidelijke boodschap is de sleutel om je bedrijf te laten groeien. Dit is de Storybrand Podcast.
Well, welcome back to the Storybrand Podcast. I'm your host, Daan Schmid from Storybrand Netherlands. And today we're diving deep into what makes a business truly work. Our guest is someone who knows this better than almost anyone, Howard Partridge. He's not just a business coach and best-selling author, but someone who has lived the entrepreneurial journey from the inside out. From struggling to thriving, Howard has built a powerful framework that helps business owners break free from chaos and actually enjoy the business they've built. So today we're talking about why most businesses fail, how to escape the trap of constantly chasing shiny objects, and how to finally build a business that works for you instead of the other way around. Whether you're a startup founder or a seasoned entrepreneur, this episode will give you both inspiration and action. Howard, welcome to the show.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So take us back to the beginning. What's your personal story and how did you become the guide that you are today for so many business owners?
Well, first of all, I grew up poor on welfare, grew up in Mobile, Alabama, 7 kids crammed in a little 600 square foot shack. And the roof on that house was so bad that we had to get out all the pots and pans to catch the leaks. My mother fed us on $100 a month from the welfare department. And I got kicked out of the house when I was almost 18 years old by my stepdad. I had no money. And I scraped up enough for a bus ticket to Houston, Texas, arrived in Houston, Texas with 25 cents in my pocket. And I became a waiter and I worked in all these really high-end restaurants. But I always wanted to have my own business. I just didn't have any money to speak of. And then I met my wife and we got married, and my wife's Italian. So when you marry an Italian family, you don't get wedding presents, you get cash. And we got $3,000 in wedding money. And there was a friend of the family, same age as me, 23 at the time, who was tooling around little red Mercedes convertible. And I said, I want to know what that guy does, and I want to know if it's legal. Well, it turns out that he had his own business. So I get back after our wedding, back to Houston, and spend that entire $3,000, starting my first business out of the trunk of my car. My wife was really thrilled about that. And not. And so I built this business. I struggled for about 13 years. I made good money. I made $100,000 a year, but net profit. But I worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it was then that I read Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, and learned how to build systems in my business. And I started building systems, built a team, and got that business up to several $1 million a year. I still own it today, 40 years later. That was over 40 years ago. And it's a multi-million-dollar business. And so once I got that turnkey and systematized, people wanted to know, my colleagues wanted to know how I was doing it. So I started training people on my systems, and that turned into a full-blown coaching business where we teach small business owners how to build systems, how to be a stronger leader, and how to build what I call a phenomenal dream team. Now, my coaching company is called Phenomenal Products. However, we franchised our coaching process a couple of years ago, and the brand is Phenomenal Business Coaching. And my company is the exclusive small business coaching company for the Zig Ziglar Corporation. I was their first Ziglar Legacy certified trainer. I was John Maxwell's very first coach, Donald Miller's very first Business Made Simple coach. And so the frameworks I take from a lot of different frameworks to validate my own frameworks. And so we have clients in over 100 different industries in 20 different countries, including one of my favorite clients who is in Amsterdam
Yes.
by the name of Don Smith. So,
Wonderful. Yeah, that's another story for another time. But
yeah.
I'm really excited to have you as my coach, our coach, in the podcast, and it's an amazing story. If you look back, what are some of the toughest lessons you had to learn early as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, so one is when you don't have systems, you have to recreate the wheel. You have
Mm,
to tell people over and over and over what to do. And if you don't have a team, then you can't achieve your dream, as my friend Dave Anderson likes to say. And so you're either stuck working alone, doing everything yourself, or you got to have people and processes in place. And so the tough thing is, first of all, systems make everything easier, but it's not easy to build a system, right? And you have to get people to use those systems. So that's why I say leadership, systems, then leadership, because if you don't have good leadership, you're not going to attract the right people and they're not going to use the system. So the toughest lessons for me were building systems, becoming a leader. I was not a great leader. I had vision. I was excited, but I just didn't lead well. Let's just put it that way. And didn't hire the right people. Okay. And I didn't take care of my finances.
mm.
Okay. So those were the lessons that I learned. So that's why we say we help people build a predictable, profitable, turnkey operation so that they can have freedom in their life.
Wow.
And I'm down here at my beach house right now for the whole summer and on the most beautiful beach in the entire world. And my companies just run without me. So,
A big
it can be done.
It's a big change. Veel zakelijke dienstverleners kampen met onduidelijke processen, versnipperde informatie en afhankelijkheid van collega's. En dat zorgt natuurlijk voor een hoop frustratie en onrust op de werkvloer. Clientbox stroomlijnt je dagelijkse operatie, brengt overzicht en zorgt ook voor rust in je hoofd en in je team. Ga naar clientbox.nl/podcast en ontdek hoe Clientbox jouw bedrijf efficiënter laat werken. So, when you meet struggling business owners, and I know that you meet them all the time, you're at trade shows, you're still in the trenches, right? And this is your big heart because you don't have to work anymore since a long time, but you
Right.
have this mission in life where you feel like I'm called by God to do what I'm doing. Struggling business owners today, when you meet them,
Yeah.
what is the part of your journey that you feel like helps you connect with them the most?
Well, because I went through the pain, right?
Yeah.
So I went through the pain of being a slave to my business. I went through the pain of not being there for my son as he was growing up because I was so consumed with the business. I went through the pain of having to do everything myself. I went through the pain of employees not showing up. I went through the pain of having to terminate people. I went through the pain of people stealing work from me, stealing money from me. I went through the pain of getting myself in debt. I went through everything that you can imagine. I went through it. And I sort of almost got into the coaching space and training space by accident. But then I realized that, okay, this is not just another business. This is my purpose. And
Mm.
I just realized, and John Maxwell said something to me one time that just, I never forgot it. He said, once you get a taste of significance, success will never satisfy.
Wow.
See, we entrepreneurs, business owners, people want to have their own business. We want to be successful, right? We want to chart our own course. We want to be our own boss, chart our own course, make some extra money, like have free time. And the brutal reality of most small business owners' lives, they feel like a slave to the business, very little family time. Business consumes their mind 24/7, major stress, no real freedom. They feel like they have a job instead of a business. And on top of it, they not only don't make money, they are broke and in debt. The only thing worse than being broke is being broke and in debt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what happened was I've always been a person, I like to give back and I like to share and help. It's just part of my DNA. And that's why my first business was so successful, is because we delivered a superior service experience, different, better than anybody else. Nobody was willing to do what we did. And that set us apart. That got us the best clients. And so that's always sort of been part of my DNA.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened was I was serving in a small association, and I became the president of that association. And I started teaching some of my things, and people liked it. And I thought, okay, well, I'll continue to help. And there were other people in my industry that were doing stuff like that were not doing justice to people. I'll just put it that way. So I said, somebody's got to step up. Somebody's got to tell how it really is. And honestly, I fell in love with business owners, because when I saw that our work saved a marriage, saved a family, when I saw that now people had free time to spend with their family, when I saw that people could go from losing money to living a dream life, when I saw the transformation, the significance of what happens with people who get into our program, it got me.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do every day. And I have to remind myself every day, because like today I'm on this podcast, and I have a franchise meeting. Then I have another have a webinar that I'm doing for a referral partner. And then I have my marketing meeting. Okay. Now, when my favorite beach,
You can see it.
it's right there,
Yeah.
But don't feel sorry for me, because I spent an hour out there this morning praying and thinking and enjoying. And then, I'll be off by 2:00, and for the rest of the day to spend time with my grandkids on the beach and
Wonderful.
pool and dinner and all, So don't feel sorry for me, okay? Don't feel
got it.
sorry for somebody who has a beach house and grandkids that
That's
love them.
That's
Okay?
it. That's it. It's interesting that John Maxwell said, once you've tasted significance, success will not satisfy.
Yeah.
You and I flew to Nashville, Tennessee, together in December 2019, just before
Yes.
Christmas. And you were supposed to be somewhere else in the world, and last
Yeah.
minute that didn't go through, and you said, hey Don, do you still want me to come with you? We went to
Yeah.
get certified by Donald Miller, StoryBrand. This makes me really think of StoryBrand. Could you say, once you've tasted to be a guide, you don't want to be a hero anymore? Is it
Right.
it's somewhere
Right.
there, right? The hero is the
Right.
success,
Right.
and the significance being someone's guide. It's so
Yes.
much more satisfying.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I see all these guys out there that listen, we need to demonstrate empathy and authority. Okay. We can't leave the authority part out, right?
No.
But there's so many guys. That's why I got in this business, is there was all the authority, but no empathy.
Mm.
Right. And so this is what makes our being a coach satisfying to me. And I really don't do a lot of coaching myself. I coach a handful of clients like you. I have a team that does all that. I enjoy building the business. That's the part that I enjoy. And I enjoy the impact that it has. Even my first company is turnkey. I don't work there. I don't go there. I own the building. I own everything there 100%, but they run it without me, and I don't have any desire to go in and manage or mess with the systems or anything. I built them a long time ago and they work. I got great people, great processes. So I don't have any desire to go in there. But I love the impact that service experience has in our clients.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I love when I hear that, like your team is so great. They just took such good care of us, and we love your company. We love your brand. I mean,
That's what you do
I'm
it for. Yeah.
the transformation.
The
Yeah.
transformation. Yeah.
Yes.
Why
The identity transformation.
why is it so hard for entrepreneurs, for business owners to achieve both freedom and growth at the same time? It sometimes it seems like a contradiction. Like, it's either
Yeah.
freedom at
Right.
the cost of growth of your business, or it's growth at the cost of your lifestyle and your health and your family. And so,
Yeah.
why is that so hard for people?
Well, I think one reason is ego. Another reason is fear. Another reason is lack of vision. So Zig always said that the secret ingredient of success is desire, and desire comes from a vision. And if you don't have a vision, it's because you don't have belief, right?
Mm,
And so I think a lot of people, and Michael Gerber is a friend of mine, he's a neighbor. We're doing some stuff together right now. And, he says that most business owners are not entrepreneurs; they're technicians.
mm,
So they're good at a craft, right? Whatever it is, and maybe they're a good architect. Maybe they're a good CPA. Maybe they're a good, whatever. And they fall in love with the technical part,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so they're a technician. They don't work on the business. Michael Gerber is the one who coined that term, work on the business instead of in the business. I have a client who I've known this guy he's known me for 21 years. And for whatever reason, he's always liked me. He's always learned from me. He shows up for all the free stuff, but never got into coaching until 5 weeks ago. I get a message from him yesterday that says, in just 5 weeks, something happened. My mind shifted. He said, for 21 years, I've been focused on the technical. Now I'm thinking about marketing all the time.
wow,
See? Yeah. And so I think people are, they're fearful of hiring employees. They're fearful. Some people have the fear of success. Some people, they don't like the business building part of it. They're comfortable with the technical part, whether it's a plumber or, HVAC guy, whatever. I know how to do the work, and I don't want to promote myself. I don't want to have to deal with employees. I don't want to have to. They get their wife to answer the phone and do the books, right? Because they're uncomfortable with that.
yeah,
Okay. So as you know, I wrote a book called FTI, Failure to Implement. The number one reason that small businesses don't grow or do as well as they could is because of what I call FTI, failure to implement, right?
yes,
You know what to do, you know how to do it, you just don't do it. You know that you should market your business. You know that you should be a better salesperson. You should be a better leader. You should probably hire some people. I had a guy yesterday. He's in one of my classes, and it's my onboarding. It's a paid class to get people into coaching. So I had the conversation with him about coaching. He's just like, I'm just too comfortable.
yeah. It's interesting that
But
a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck there.
Yeah.
at the comfort zone versus
Yeah.
the discomfort zone, the FTI, failure to implement. By the way, that's we could talk about hours about your books. Um, there's one question that's on my mind in preparation of this meeting that I would like for you to share your thoughts on, because I hear this all the time from entrepreneurs, from business owners, but also from salespeople, sales managers, marketing managers, like a lot of professionals dealing with teams as well. Um, building a business. If I hear you right, like, and I've been following you since 2014 when I was still on a payroll in a business, until 2016 where we started the business, and the year we signed up for the inner circle and you
Yeah.
became our coach.
Yeah.
Um, you've been hammering, build the system and build the team. The team will build the business. And in
Yeah.
order to do that, you need those systems and processes and procedures. And that is sometimes a grind. Sometimes you just have to do work
Right.
that nobody
Right.
wants to do in order to
Right.
live the life that nobody will have unless they're
Right.
willing to.
Right.
So here's my question. I think in the US you would call this and I think it's already like the word ketchup. It's already a Dutch word sentence, like the next shiny object syndrome, right?
Right. Right.
So you are working with entrepreneurs all the time. They know deep down inside they need to do the boring system work.
Right. Right.
But then comes along a next, TikTok comes along, or anything they want to put their hands on that they love, maybe some technical thing or AI. Or why is it so dangerous, for business owners to chase latest and loudest, and how can we avoid this?
Yeah. Well, the reason is because most human beings operate out of um, what's happening in their subconscious, and what's happening in their subconscious is emotion is driving them, rather than critical thinking. And this is why we need a coach,
Yeah.
because a coach helps us get perspective. I mean, before I had a mentor, man, I was all over the place. I was that guy, like, oh, let's do this, let's do that. Next thing you know, I'm in debt and my business isn't working. So going back to FTI, there's only two things. There's only two reasons that people make extraordinary change in their life. And whether whoever it is, it doesn't matter if it's a business owner or not. But the fact is that we only make big change in our life, extraordinary change in our life, through desperation or inspiration, right? The problem with desperation is as soon as we get back in that comfort zone. See, 2 weeks ago, that guy that I'm talking about, that I talked to yesterday, his top guy had back problems, and he was like, oh, he schedules a call with me. Desperation. Now the guy's back at work. He's comfortable again, right? And I told him, one of my coaches always tells me that all growth happens outside the comfort zone. Okay. So the problem is that you can be very comfortable in a small business. If you got income, I got to do this. I got to do that. This is more comfortable to work on the business and create all this change. There's a lot of fear involved, right? And so the bright, shiny objects, they keep us occupied.
Yeah.
They trick us into thinking we're doing something. Oh, maybe this will work. And it's not conscious thought. It's all subconscious emotion, right?
Very
It's
powerful. Yeah.
We haven't thought it through. We haven't understood ourselves, right? And so John Maxwell, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, all of them will tell you that you're changed through your thinking,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when you change your thinking, you change your beliefs, right? You change your beliefs, you change your expectations. You change your expectations, you change your attitude. Change your attitude, you change your behavior. You change your behavior, you change your performance. You change your performance, you change your life. It doesn't happen. It's not a get rich quick scheme. However, if you can move from desperation to inspiration and really see, feel, and believe that something is possible, then you're going to do the hard work to stay focused. That's why we need a coach. That's why we need a community, people to support us, encourage us, and help us be accountable, okay? Because they're going to help us keep our head on straight. And by the way, if you have the right staff, they'll help you keep your head on straight.
Yes.
So the reason I can stay focused is because I have this incredible support system, this incredible community around me, a phenomenal dream team, coaches, a community. You know, I couldn't slack off if I wanted to.
No.
Okay. And sometimes I don't like that, because sometimes I just like to quit. Sometimes, I mean, listen, I thought about that this morning. I was like, man, what if I just sat here all day? And I can sometimes.
Yes.
I can all the time, but I choose to do the uncomfortable work to continue to build for one reason and one reason only. And that is the impact that we can have.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You gotta balance it, right? So I tell people the one and only reason that your business exists is to be a vehicle to help you achieve your life goals. Well, a vehicle is a set of systems, right? That'll, take you where you want to go. Focus on your life goals first. Mr. Ziegler said that, success is living a balanced life. Gary Keller says, who built Keller Williams Realty, largest residential real estate company in the country, in America, by every measure. He said that that's bunk. He said balanced life is bunk. Zig Ziglar, number one motivational speaker in the world, said that success is living a balanced life. Gary Keller says that that's bunk. Let's read on. He wrote a book called The One Thing.
Right.
It's about focus.
The
right?
focus question. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he said you can't stay balanced all the time. It's counterbalancing. So he has this graph in his training. I became certified in The One Thing at one time. And I don't remember if it's in the book or in the training. Anyway, so there's this graph, and how you have to go long for work and big projects, but you keep it tight at home, right? So you're staying close with your family, you're staying close with your health, you're staying close with your mental sanity, but you know that I got to go long on these projects to do extraordinary things, right?
Right.
And I don't try to do everything. I focus. And so to wrap all that up, the reason that people get distracted by bright, shiny objects
Right.
is because subconsciously they're just reacting to emotion.
Yeah.
Okay.
True.
They're not thinking through. They don't have someone to help them stay focused. They're just shooting in the dark. And by the way, ego, all this stuff that you see is a big ego is a revelation of a poor self-image.
Right. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that. I think this is so important. Also, the subconscious being your book, Think and Be Phenomenal, was the breakthrough in my life when
That
we
was incredible to me. Yeah.
right. It's a little book, and I decided, I was my money was gone. I had borrowed 40,000 euros from my father-in-law to quit my job and start the business with Lizzie. And one day the 40,000 euros was gone. There wasn't much coming in the business. As you know, when you were here in October 2016, I had done 20,000 euros in sales that year. Because of one advice, walking down the Hague from the Starbucks, where you asked, Don, but how is your business doing? And I began to explain, you gave that one advice that changed our business, where you said, well, let's change something in your sales process. We made another 20,000 that year. So we doubled the business actually in 2-3 months because of your coaching. And that's one of the things you said, if you want to stay out of the next shiny object syndrome, if you want to become aware of the emotion instead of the ration, you have to have a coach as well. And then in February 2017, I was still feeling stuck in some way, wasn't going as fast as I wanted, and I was about to quit. And I called my father-in-law. I still see Lizzie coming down the stairs. She just had laid the kids in bed. And I said, man, we really got to do something, because tomorrow they're going to debit our bank account from our mortgage, and there's nothing in there, And so, your father said we could call him if we really, really needed him. And she felt like ashamed and also a failure, and she didn't want to make that phone call, but we just felt like we have to, we have to get help. And I made that phone call that I didn't want to make, and before I could ask the question, he began to preach at me for about 20 minutes, and I felt this small, and I felt like, and then he said, so how much do you, the only thing he preached was like, you want to quit? You just started. And what do you think? Rome wasn't built in one day, so you got to keep going on. And so
Good for him.
this vision, this fire came back, and he said, how much do you need? And I just couldn't get it out of my throat. So I said 5, and he said, 5 what? I said, well, 5,000 euros. And he said, it's going to be in your bank right now, and you just shut up and just do your day, do your work. And he turned off the phone.
I love it.
So I was standing there with my phone, like, okay, that was it. And I was standing in our office at our home before my bookshelf, and I was thinking, like, yeah, I cannot give up. I've just started, but how? Something needs to change in me. And I felt like the message that he gave me was like, man, you got to change your mind. And then I saw that little book, your book, Think and Be Phenomenal. And I just pulled it out, and I thought, this is it. I need to think different. I used to sell expensive software all over Europe for charities and membership organizations and foundations. And I didn't have a hard time selling. But selling yourself as a business owner, you become attached to your product or service. And it was a limiting belief system that I had to break.
Right.
And so right there and then I made this one decision. And I think it was a combination. Maybe it's possible to have a combination of desperation on one end and inspiration both at the same time, right?
Yes.
And I said, I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning for a full month. I'm going to meditate on this little book. I'm going to read it and reread it and meditate on it and affirm it. And after 2 weeks, something began to change. It was like, it's like a chiropractor who cracks your bones. I felt something twisting, something changing. Like as if you could feel literally something in my brain is just, there's new neuro paths that are getting attached. And I went to sales meetings in a different way. Nothing had changed in my circumstances. Nothing had changed with the people I was sitting with, but Don had changed. And that's when it became to work for us. So thank you for sharing this, this mind shift that we need to make.
Yeah. That's it. It's a mind shift where you make a decision. You make a decision. So again, this guy that I talked to yesterday, he said, I want to retire in 10 years. I'm 55. I want to retire at 65. I said, okay. I said, what does that look like? He said, well, I'll sell my business. I said, okay. So how much do you need to make? I don't know. And so we sort of worked through that. Listen, if you don't have a compelling vision for your life and for your business, you'll be forced to focus on activity and circumstance and be enslaved by that circumstance.
Yeah. This is so
Tell you,
important.
I went to a business yesterday to look at potentially purchasing part of their business, right down here in Destin. That's a whole nother story. But those people talked about circumstance. Here I am to make it basically say, what do you want for your business? At least a part of that business. They say they want to sell it. All they did was talk about circumstance for an hour and a half. I'm like, so let me see if I can break this down. What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want to walk away with? Anyway, so that's the problem. Is it's right here, being able to stay focused. And so the fact, it comes down to belief. If we don't believe that the juice is worth the squeeze, we're not going to squeeze.
Right.
We're not going to, pump that pump like Zig Ziglar said, He said, you got to pump like crazy before you get anything. You got to prime that pump. You got to pump like crazy. And you got to do more work than you think that you're going to have to do. John Maxwell says your dream is going to take 3 times as long and cost 3 times as much as you imagine that it will.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So listen, so if I could say anything to your listeners, get your vision that inspires you, that you just go, wow. If it doesn't wow you, it won't move you.
No.
Okay. And so get that vision, get a coach, get Don to work with you. Okay. And so that you can not just see the vision, but believe the vision.
Yeah.
But even when we believe the vision, the fear and the doubt, fear and doubt kills more dreams than anything else.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
What happens right here and right here? Fear and doubt. So we all have to go through this because it gets hard. And, we say, well, the truth is I get a lot of days out there on that beach by myself.
Yeah.
I mean, this Memorial Day weekend from Friday at noon-ish, right after my lunch with a client, all the way till Monday night, I don't have anything to do except for go to the beach and go to the pool with my kids. So I can't complain, right?
Right.
I can't complain.
This is powerful. So the
thing is that all of us, we start getting the hard work, and then, like you said, that, you can make a fortune on TikTok. Woo, you can make a fortune on Facebook. Woo, those bright, shiny objects. The key is to success is focus.
Yeah.
Focus, focus, focus.
One of the things that helps you focus is your daily time capsule. And I would love to maybe wrap up a little bit in that direction. And before you share how to stay focused, right?
Yeah.
Here's a scenario that I bump into a lot with entrepreneurs, with our clients actually, that we coach and train and consult to get their marketing and sales like working like a revenue team, or whether they need a clear message for story brand. One of the things I hear a lot with leaders in business is that they tell me, Don, I feel guilty when I am not in the office and I'm just, running or going to the beach, but I know that if I spend more time in nature, I know that when I spend more time with my family, I know that when I spend more time on vacation, I make way more better decisions and I'm way more valuable to myself first, to my wife second, or to my husband, to my children, to my team, and for the whole company. The whole company will
Yep.
make more money if I work on the business instead of in the business, whether I'm a sales manager, a sales director, a VP of marketing, a CEO. It doesn't matter. I hear this all the time, this guilt feeling. When they know deep down inside, they come rejuvenated back from their break or from their morning ritual.
Right.
What would you say if I would be that person right now sitting on the other side of the table
Yeah.
and I feel this guilt all the time and I can't break free while I know I need to, like I think it was John Maxwell, right? Leaders need to do one thing and that is sit there and think, right? Spend more
Yep.
time. So how do you do this in your life? What would you say to such a person, and how can your secret weapon, the daily time capsule, be powerful instrument?
100%. First of all, my guess is that same person that feels guilty when they're not at work feels guilty when they're at work when they're not at home.
Yeah, I think so
I
too.
watched listen, I'll be 65 this year, and I've been so blessed to be mentored by some of the greatest in business. John Maxwell, Brian Tracy. Brian and I are writing a book together. Donald Miller and I are writing a book together. Michael Gerber is a neighbor, Zig Ziglar, and all of them agree that that it all happens right here, right?
Yeah.
So here's the key. There's a documentary called The Last Dance. It's about the Chicago Bulls and how they won 6 NBA championships. Okay. And I watched it about 3 times, and there's a whole like thing about Michael Jordan, that he wasn't really cut out to be the athlete that he was, but he had a trainer, Tim S. Grover, who made him the physical being that could fly through the air and do a 360. Okay, so training, number 1. Number 2 is practice. He was in the gym every day, practicing layups, practicing foul shots, practicing the free throw. That way, when he got in a situation, he could, if he had to twist and turn, however he had to make the shot was almost automatic. I met Tim Grover, and Tim Grover, in his speech, said, Michael said, I train so much that the game is easy. I train so much that the game is easy. If you want to have a phenomenally successful business, you have to study leadership. You have to study marketing. You have to study sales. You have to study service. You have to study the finance. Okay, those are the 5 systems. But there was one last secret that Michael Jordan had that nobody else had, which is the key. I didn't see it until I watched this whole series. Like it's like 9 or 12 episodes or something. And I didn't see it until like the 3rd time I'd watched this whole episode. And I believe it was in the season, like the whole season. I watched it like 3 times. And it was like the final episode, I believe, where Phil Jackson said about Michael Jordan. He said, Michael Jordan's secret, it's so good, was he was always present. He was always present. He didn't worry about the last game that they lost. He didn't worry about the last shot that he missed. He didn't think about the score. The score. He knew the score, but he didn't think about winning this game so he could win the next game. That's a goal for sure, but he was always in the moment. Focus. Decide what you want, why you want it. Become a student of business. Be the best at technical. But once you're the best at technical, listen, you got to train on the business disciplines, right?
Right.
You got to
Powerful.
train on the business disciplines, right? And then what you do, you take your vision, you take your big vision, you take your goals, you write them down, and every day you work on those goals. That's what Mr. Ziglar told us to do. So you break those down into projects. We call them priority projects. You have to take all the stuff, all the opportunity, and all the options and decide what will you do and how do I build that? You build it one piece at a time. So maybe it's hiring a person. Maybe it's getting my messaging right. Maybe it's wireframing my website. Maybe it's developing our sales script. Maybe it's developing our customer journey. Whatever it is, you work on that project every day. Okay. So John Maxwell came and spoke at my conference, and he took the stage. He always sits on the stool, right? And he sits on the stool and he gets comfortable and does, a little building rapport and everything. And he said, I had about 200 people there, business owners. And he goes, if I could have dinner with you tonight, I could predict your future success. Everybody's like, this man's arrogant. And I saw more than a few people lean back and cross their arms and go, yeah, this is going to be a long 90 minutes. And then he said this. He said, if I could have dinner tonight, I would ask you about your daily agenda. Man, he went teaching on projects, he called it 5 chops. And he went to teaching on what you got to do every day. And man, those pens hit the paper and everybody's like, so here's what I do. Here's my secret.
Yeah.
Every single day, 6 days a week. And there's a rest day because of what you said a while ago. God didn't give us the 10 commandments just because he wants to control us. He gave us the 10 commandments because it's life. It gives us life, right?
Yeah.
And the way he designed us is that he designed our conscious mind and our subconscious mind, right? We retrain our subconscious mind by through critical thinking, by conscious thinking, right?
Yeah.
And so focusing on the vision, focusing on your goals, putting them in your mind every day. Mr. Ziglar put in the pure, the powerful, the positive every day, and work on your goals, work on your projects every single day. So what I do is I get up in the morning. The first thing I do is I grab my little Kindle Scribe. I used to use notebooks, but then I got piles and piles and piles of spiral notebooks. I can't find anything. But so I have all my projects in here. And what we teach is to whittle that down to your phenomenal 4 projects, your one project being your one thing project. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary. That's Gary Keller, the one thing. And every morning I work on those projects.
And that's how you get successful, right?
Yeah. And so every day, whatever those projects are, you don't have 25 projects, you have 4, you have 3, you have 2, you have maybe 1, right? And if you do the work on the business in the morning, and all you're doing is every day, what's the next action step I have to take? Maybe I have to write a web page. Maybe I have to write a script. Maybe I have to delegate to some people. Maybe I have to schedule some meetings. Maybe I need to go study and do some training. So I'm going to schedule that. So in the morning, all I do is I think about my projects. okay? And I do it 6 days a week because on the seventh day, the reason that there was a Sabbath rest, it was not a religious thing. This is how we're wired, okay? When you think about a problem or a solution, maybe there's even some fear involved, and you get it out on paper and you think it through, and you put the solutions. This is again why you need a coach. That information, like your father-in-law. That was so great. There's your mentor saying, "Don't you dare quit. Don't you dare quit. Are you crazy? Rome wasn't built in a day." See, we have to put the new thoughts in here. Then we retrain our subconscious so that when we're daydreaming out there at the beach, or we're asleep, or we're in the shower, the solution just comes out.
Yeah.
You ever notice that?
Yeah.
This is what I talked about in that little book, Think and Be Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so on Sunday, the Sabbath was technically on Saturday. It's not a religious thing. It could be Monday. It could be Wednesday. But you take one day a week and you just let everything that's been deposited, let it come out. It's there.
Yeah.
And you're operating based on your subconscious.
Yeah.
Now your subconscious doesn't, save you. It's not, you can go too far with that. This is salvation. No, your emotions are not salvation. Okay. For those of us who are believers. So that's what I do every day. I call it my daily time capsule.
Yeah.
I happen to use the Ziegler planner. Now, if you get a Ziegler planner, you need to read how to use it. Don't just open it, because the first time I opened it, I saw these words and everything, and I was like, ooh, I'm a high D. I can't do that. But if you read through page by page how to use it, you can use whatever you want. Before I used the Ziegler planner, I used notebooks. But I do want to show you how committed I am to this. 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, probably something about you in that one. 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. Right over here, already filled in from this morning, 2025.
Love it. So powerful.
Your success is found in your daily agenda. Okay? But before that, you have to think, you have to get coaching, you have to study. Our most successful members just do two things. They learn the proven systems through training themselves, like Michael Gerber trained himself, and they implement it. The reason they implement is because they have coaching, they have a community. Now, I want to say one last thing. I want to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
How is your life different today than it was the day when I met you?
Completely different. Like, I had a dream which was way smaller than what we live right now. So we've reached our goals that we had through the coaching, and way more than that. Doesn't mean we don't have challenges, doesn't mean we don't have problems.
Right.
Every level there's something new you have to learn. It's just that way.
Right.
My biggest breakthrough came after a few years of coaching with you. That it's not, I was expecting something new from you at a certain time. But you don't have to.
No.
This is one of the biggest mistakes about the next shiny object syndrome.
Right.
We think we need something new, and it's not. There's nothing new under the sun, by the way. And so we have to become a student. I remember from your series that you just talked about with Michael Jordan, getting the training and get in the reps.
Yeah, get
It's
in the rep.
interesting that he wasn't training the the special stuff.
Right.
He was disciplined in there's never been a time in Michael Jordan's life where he said, I already know how to dunk. I already know how to use my feet. So coach, trainer, give me something else. No, he understood, like any top sport person, whether it's tennis, golf, basketball, soccer, whatever,
Yeah.
it's getting the basic reps in forever. And when I saw that, I was coming to your webcast or to our one-on-one monthly meeting with you, me, and Lizzie. I don't need to expect something new. I need to rehear and rehear. I mean, God gave us the Bible. He doesn't write a new one every year.
Right. And here's the thing, with coaching, you get perspective about what's happening now.
Right.
Okay. Your vision and getting perspective and how to focus to be able to understand where you are on the journey. Now, there's one more thing about Michael Jordan that I think is very key, and then we'll have to close.
Yes.
I got to get out of the meeting, but he always had a self-imposed goal. See, when you're successful, that can be one of your biggest enemies because I could just quit.
Yeah.
He always had a self-imposed goal, whether it was beating the Pistons or beating the Celtics or whatever. He just figured out what it was. And again, he was just present on that goal. That inspiration drove him, but he stayed present in the moment because he knew this is how I get there. That's Coach Saban's, Nick Saban's formula.
Right. Right.
Make this play. If you don't make this play, you can't make the next play. You don't think about the championship. Don't think about the touchdown. Anything about the first down. This play, the process.
Thank you, sir. Two last questions, very short. I think I already know the answer to the first. I ask all my people in the podcast, what is the book that changed your life? Is it fair to say that this book was the start of your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah.
And my last question: if all the billboards, well, in Holland, US, wherever, would be yours for a full week, what would you tell the world?
You know the answer to that one. I would say you are phenomenal.
Yes.
And the reason is because God made you in his image. He didn't make those dolphins out there in his image. He didn't make those birds out there or the crabs out there or the dog or the cat or the horse or the cow. Human beings, you are special. Why? Because it brings it all together. You have a creative mind. You have the mind of Christ. You're made in God's image. You have his mind built into you. Now, there's a little bit of a challenge because we live in a fallen world. So there's another training. There's another, thought process and all that. But that's what my billboards would say. It would say, you are phenomenal. Find out why. HowardPartridge.com.
I love it. You got to go to your next meeting. Howard, thank you so much for being with us. Say hello to Denise and to Chris and your daughter-in-law. You call her different.
My daughter-in-law and my
daughter-in-law and your grandchildren.
And you do the same. Hug your family for me.
I will.
We are going to get, Lord willing, we are going to get to Italy. We'll stop in Amsterdam to see you guys.
Yes. Thank you, sir. See you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Lord bless you. Okay, bye-bye.